Okay, how's everybody doing this evening? Of course, my name is Kent and the channel is EOS San Diego. And it's been a while since I made a video, mainly because it's end of year last year and I was really busy with some stuff, so I had to get some stuff done before the end of the year. And then surprisingly, it's easy to make, for me, it's easier to make videos when I think the market needs help than it is when the market's doing well. So it's like when things are cruising along and doing well, I tend not to be so interested in making videos as I am when I know it's going to do much better, and I just want to tell people it's going to do much better. And I'm kind of like giving you the knowledge. Hey, it's getting better. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. But once it's gotten better, it's almost like I feel like I don't have an urgency to tell people this stuff. But there's a lot of stuff to talk about, and I need to start making more and more videos because I think there's a lot of points of view out there that probably I can give an input. I can give my input on, and my input's very simple. My input is just simply that I am someone that studied this for many years. We were heavily involved in the cryptocurrencies. I was a stockbroker for a number of years. I've been in small business all my life, and I follow this stuff very closely, and have been very fortunate to have my son, who has been pretty much a student in cryptocurrency since its very beginning almost. Kind of be somebody that I can bounce things off of and talk to. And we are also the creators of an application that's running on the blockchain, the challenge application, which is doing very well. It runs on the EOS blockchain. We've been working on that for a number of years, so I have some perspective on this, and I'd like to give my point of view. So I kind of like to think of this as either a reset, and a lot of people are just calling it a reset, or maybe just the final chapter of an old problem that's been around for a while. And when I say the final chapter on an old problem that's been around for a while, I kind of think of this, and I've seen these days before, and that's another perspective I can give you. And as a number of years of watching things, as a stockbroker in the late 1970s, early 1980s, I saw people just like today, frantically trying to exchange dollar bills for some asset or something to retain some of their buying power, some of their purchasing power. And at that time it was penny stocks. And of course we were heavily involved with gold mining stocks. We were in the Rocky Mountains. I was in Denver, Colorado series. I was with a company by the name of Dunhill Investments. Some people may have heard of Meyer Blinder. They were one of our competitors. Other people may have watched the movie The Wolves of Wall Street. That was he was a few years after me. I was literally before that guy got started. He was in New York, I was in Denver. But a lot of the things in the movie were true. Of course, it was obviously Hollywood, and a lot of the things that they did, probably happened, but not as much as they kind of showed it as it happened. But yeah, I was heavily involved in the penny stock market, and it was a crazy time, and there was a lot of things that we learned from that. Then later on, after people flushed their money, tried to get rid of their money, literally I had friends of mine that were sitting on $50,000, $100,000 checks in their drawers that could not get them into the market fast enough because they had so many accounts to open. I literally had a friend of mine, I don't know if he's alive or not because it's been a number of years ago, but he literally had checks in his drawer that he could not get into the market quick enough because so many people were after him to buy stocks that he didn't have time to open these accounts. And they were I saw one when it was a $50,000 check one time. And at the time, that would be probably like $250,000 today. So that kind of stuff was happening. And I saw that. And of course, the next thing that happened was Ronald Reagan came into office. He immediately slowed down the inflation rate with the Federal Reserve. They slowed down the inflation rate. I think Ronald Reagan was the worst president that I've ever been. I know there's a lot of people out there going to argue with me. Please don't argue with me about who's the worst and best president. I don't think any of them have been any good, at least in recent times. But I believe Ronald Reagan was the worst president the United States has ever had. And of course, that's my opinion. That doesn't mean he didn't do some good stuff, because I know he did do. But in my opinion, he's one of the worst presidents that we ever had. And the reason I say he's one of the worst presidents that we ever had is because he artificially lowered interest rates and came up with something literally that drove the economic policy for the next 30 years, which was the idea of an economic system where you give money to the very wealthy, and if you gave money to the very wealthy people, it would trickle down to the people that were working in the economy, that were working in the workforce, and that if you gave somebody lots and lots of money, gave them all kinds of benefits to be able to get money through the feds very easily, that they would take that money, they would retain it within the country that gave it the money, and then they would hire people and make the economy strong. And that's exactly what didn't happen. People like Warren Buffett took the money, they bought back their own stock, they outsourced jobs, and they used those funds to literally de-industrialize the United States of America. And that's exactly what happened. So in that respect, I see him as one of the worst presidents. Now, back to the fact that he was a bad president was the fact that I think that he really wasn't probably the guy making the decisions. And that's why I say don't really hold me to that, because I don't think he was really the guy that was making the decisions. I think he was just a figurehead, much like Trump was a figurehead, or is a figurehead, was a figurehead. Both of these guys were guys that had completely 180-degree different points of view prior to them being elected. Ronald Reagan was a Democrat, so was a liberal Democrat before he was elected president. Of course, Trump's held very different beliefs than he holds today. So neither one of these guys are, I think, fundamentally people that have had these point of views for their entire careers. They've flip-flopped and done all kinds of things. That's why I don't say that either one's bad or good. I'm just saying that what they did at the time they were president, or whoever did what at the time they were president, I thought didn't work out very well. And of course, with Ronald Reagan, I didn't think it worked out very well. Like I say, at that time, things shut down. The market shut down. Well, the penny stock market anyway shut down. Money flowed to very wealthy people. And of course, the wealthy people held the money, used it to, like I say, buy their own stock and to outsource jobs, and to basically get very, very wealthy. And that's when you saw the destruction of the middle class in the United States of America. And that's exactly what happened through Ronald Reagan. In my opinion, Ronald Reagan destroyed the middle class, because Ronald Reagan, and of course, if you go back and watch the tapes, Ronald Reagan was for free trade. You wanted free trade, and so was Milton Friedman. They were both for free trade. Now, a guy like Trump comes in and says, oh, the free trade is what killed our country. It ruined our jobs situation. It outsourced all our jobs. So Reagan and Milton Friedman and all these people from the 70s and 80s who were who were considered very conservative fiscally and politically were the ones that wanted free trade. That was their point of view. So anyway, a lot of stuff, like I say, that ends up being like the final chapter of an old problem, and that problem being that money was being created, given to certain people that were supposed to stimulate the economy, never did. And as that money become more and more and more and more created over the years, it just created a bigger problem. Bubbles like we've had, and things that have gone bad, things that have gone good. And literally, in the meantime, the money has become less and less valuable. The transparency with the internet and all the different people that are on the internet to expose this problem has made it so widely known that it isn't, it's the gig is up. Everybody knows what's going on. So now you have what we're going through right now. Literally trillions being printed to solve these problems of the past, and now to really make comfortable our economy that really shouldn't be comfortable right now. It should be very uncomfortable. But to kind of soften the blow of COVID and some of the other stuff going on, literally to create money that is just mass produced right now. So the gig will be up not when they quit printing money, because they've been printing money for over 30 years, all the way since the 1970s. Literally printing money without anything to back it up. The gig will be up when everybody loses faith in the money that we have. And that will be, in my opinion, not when the American people lose faith, because American people love the money. I mean, everybody wants their $2,000 stimulus check right now. So as long as you give them $2,000 stimulus checks, they're going to be happy until the cows come home. Even if the $2,000 stimulus check only buys some groceries, or barely buys a sack full of groceries, like Weimar Germany. The gig will be up when other countries quit shipping products to the United States for the U.S. currencies. And the gig will be up when there'll be some alternative way to trade amongst each other without using something like a universal currency like the US dollar. And that is now. And that is why you're seeing digital currencies take off. And that's why you're seeing Bitcoin take off. Because Bitcoin is the alternative. It's hard money, and it's money that's being able to be utilized by other countries to trade back and forth without use of the dollar. And of course, the other thing Reagan did is he built up the military, which put some teeth into the U.S. dollar. So if you wanted to trade outside the U.S. dollar, you could possibly bear the burden of the U.S. military. So that's the other thing Reagan did. He gave the money to the wealthy, destroying the middle class. He built up the military and made it very strong around the world, so everybody would have to trade oil in dollars and trade currency in dollar, or trade back and forth the goods in dollars, or at least hold dollars for the oil transactions. These are the things Henry Kissinger and Ronald Reagan did. So that story is about to be finished. It's about over with. And that's why you're seeing what you're seeing now. There's some people will not let go of that story, and they're going to continue to hold on to it, and they're going to continue to hold dollars, and they're going to continue to hold gold, and say that gold is the only hard money in the world. And in fact, I listened to somebody today on YouTube, and he had all the right answers. In fact, he actually, he very well described the world we live in today, where money is being, literally mass produced in numbers that can never be ever even comprehended, let alone numbers make any sense. Stock markets are completely overvalued when you got Tesla stock that is valued at the same amount as all the rest of car companies combined. Even though I love Tesla and I love Tesla cars, it's still overvalued. And his thing is, hey, he still thinks like people did in the 70s and 80s. Go back to hard money, which is, gold or commodities. He's got the right answer. But the only problem is he's calling for hard money, which is gold. Which is like Peter Schiff and some of these others. The only thing about those people is that it's like they have the right answer, but they just have the wrong tool. It's like saying, cell phones or telephones are going to be very popular in the future. Everybody's going to be on their phone. It's going to give access to people around the world, the internet. It's going to have, it's going to explode. And owning phones companies or building phones is a good business. But they're saying, not a cell phone or not a smartphone, but a rotary analog phone that plugs into the wall. That's their idea of a phone. That's and not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the iPhone 12 or the latest Android. That's Bitcoin. Their idea of phones is the old analog phone that plugs into the wall, which is gold. That's the same difference. To me, gold is the same difference. Gold, owning physical gold is like owning an analog rotary phone that plugs into the walls. Those still exist, and people still use them today. But are they any good? No. Are they going anywhere? No. Do they still work? Yeah, you can still make a phone call, but they're worthless, basically. Because you got to have an iPhone in order to connect to the internet. You got to have an iPhone in order to connect to your digital wallet. You got to have an iPhone in order to communicate with people digitally. So yeah, you got to have an iPhone or an Android. You can't have a digital phone or an analog phone plugged into the wall. Gold, physical gold, owning gold, is analog phones plugged into the wall. They will never understand that, they will never get it, and they will never want to get it. It's almost like a stream of consciousness. Either you understand this or you don't understand it. If you still want to live in the past, and I think that's really what Trump was, he's a representation of the past, he had to give those people that still believe that way of thinking, that America's been robbed through trade deals. We need more borders and more walls, and we need more of all this stuff. He represented that core group of people, and he had to give them their time, and he gave them his 4 years. Now we have to move on. Now you have Biden. Not that I'm a big fan of Biden, but Biden's probably just going to end up, writing checks to everybody for however many years until that runs out too. And when that runs out, I don't know. That'll run out when other countries quit accepting the dollars for their goods and services that they provide the United States. When that happens, then everything will be up, and then it will have to go digital. And then when it goes digital, when the money becomes Weimar Germany money, who cares? It's like, I was thinking today about, we're all feeling really good about our Bitcoin because it's gone up in value. But we're measuring our Bitcoin value going up in dollars, which isn't a good way of measuring anything right now, because they're being printed in the trillions. So yeah, Bitcoin has gone up 5, 6, 7, 8 times. I don't know how many times it's gone up now. I haven't lose track. But in dollars, and dollars. Hey, how you doing? Is going this way. Yeah, it's coming back to us. So dollars is not a good way of measuring anything right now. It's like, why don't we measure our Bitcoin in Weimar Germany marks? I mean, we probably really have a lot of money in Bitcoin. So really measuring dollars in Bitcoin isn't the answer, because our Bitcoin really hasn't gone up in value. It's just gone up in value compared to the dollars. And that will continue to happen. So if you want to get on a stream of consciousness that is going that direction, you will have at least preserve the money that you have in Bitcoin, and the money in Bitcoin will not change because it's a fixed value. There's only so many of them, and people will continue to bid it up. But in comparison to dollars, yeah, it's going to go up in value, and it will go up in value indefinitely. There's no limit and there's no top to how high it will go. It could go into the millions as far as Bitcoin compared to dollars, but everything will be in the millions. It's like I get a hard time about my $100 EOS party. Well, let me tell you, if they keep printing trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, my $100 EOS party is going to happen if EOS goes up in value or not. Even if EOS does nothing, EOS basically rolls off the side of the cliff. It's still going to go up in value in comparison to dollars, because dollars are continuing to go down in value. So yeah, my $100 party is going to happen inevitably, because EOS is going to go up in comparison to the dollar, because the dollar is being printed like crazy, and EOS still only has 1 billion tokens. So EOS only has 1 billion tokens, but the US dollar has trillions and trillions, and probably by the time Biden is through, maybe quadrillions or whatever other number comes after trillions. I don't even know. It will be some huge number. I mean, when I was a kid, it was millionaires, then it was billionaires. Now that'll be trillionaires here very, very soon, especially with this next round of stimulus coming and all the other stuff going on, where the government's literally financing an economy that's basically neutral. So that is the state of what's going on right now. And I really think that there's a consciousness in that state. If you're either in it or not in it, it doesn't make any difference. I got a kick out of Max Kaiser, who was talking about Peter Schiff, and he said literally the guy will never get it. And that's true, he will never get it, because he's built his career, he's built his reputation, he's built his business around gold, and he'll never understand Bitcoin. He'll never understand, he never will, never want to, and he will literally go to his grave not understanding Bitcoin, never believing Bitcoin. And a lot of people, like the guy I watched, it was from the Reagan administration. He'll do the same thing. He'll go to his grave never understanding Bitcoin. Either you get it or you don't get it. And I'm not here to get you into the stream of consciousness. I'm here to explain the facts. The mathematics is already over with. It's already been solved. If you want to know about the mathematics, just watch a guy like Michael Saylor, MicroStrategies. Watch him. He's already solved the math on it. The guy's an aeronautical engineer or whatever he is. He's done the mathematics. He solved the math on Bitcoin. He's given you the numbers. He solved the math. He does that. Now, if you want to buy into the math, that's up to you. If you want to get into the stream of consciousness and give up the former ways that the economy has worked, and buy into the new economy, then you will get into the stream of consciousness. If you want to stay in that old side, then you will take it to your grave, just like Peter Schiff and the guy from the Reagan administration, and a lot of other people will too. But there is something going on here, and either you buy in or you don't buy in. I don't know. It's up to you. It's not my call. The other thing I want to talk about a little bit tonight is I want to talk about EOS, because a lot of people ask me about EOS. And obviously EOS isn't seeing the appreciations that Bitcoin's seeing. And I think the reason for that is because Bitcoin still is like a hybrid. Bitcoin is still a little bit where you have to have electricity and mining in order to create a Bitcoin, where EOS is simply all digital. There's no real world resources outside of, you've got to own the token in order to stake a vote. But to me, EOS will start to be valuable, more valuable, when the scalability, and I'll go into that for just briefly, and if people understand what I'm talking about. There's been a couple cycles now. One cycle was where what basically happened was Ethereum was a smart contract platform based on proof of work. But Ethereum has always had trouble with scalability, basically the number of transactions it can run. If you go to Blocktivity, you can see how many transactions it runs. EOS runs more transactions, 4 times more transactions than any other blockchain. You can see that on Blocktivity. So Ethereum never has scale. It's never been able to run the transactions that it needs to in order to run the ideas that people have developed. And this happened with the ICOs. When the ICOs came about, the ICOs basically failed because, not that they couldn't raise money, because they raised a lot of money, but it's that they couldn't build the ideas that they envisioned when they raised the money, because Ethereum never scaled to those ideas. Now you're having the same thing go on with DeFi. Ethereum's not scaling to the DeFi. So at the point that scalability becomes such a problem that things cannot progress any further, as far as smart contracts are concerned, or what people envision cannot build it on Ethereum, or people will not accept just the ideas, they actually need to see something materialize and built, then people are going to struggle with EOS, because it's still, they want the proof of work, they want the real world assets being used, they want the electricity being spent, they want the computations being done before the blocks are produced. They don't want a set number of block producers to do it. It's always been a block producer problem. They don't want these 21 guys or 21 people or 21 block producers that are pre-selected doing this work. They want somebody that's unknown, that's somebody that has a competition to do it. And people still like that idea, that theory. That's still something that people are clinging to and hanging on to, but at a huge cost, which is it never scales. And even though Ethereum promises to scale, it never scales. So when the scalability thing gets to a point where nobody can build anything that's envisioned or sold or ideas that raise money, then people won't cross over into the proof of work, proof of stake. It will go from proof of work to proof of stake. They need to go to proof of stake, because for smart contracts, that's what works. For store value, the proof of work works, but for smart contracts, you need proof of stake. And that's what EOS is. So when that gets to be such a problem that things never get built, DeFi cannot continue to progress, the things cannot be built that were envisioned from the ICOs, when that can never happen, then EOS will start to come alive, and that's when you'll start to see EOS come alive. And also the other thing too you need to keep in mind with EOS is that EOS has one of the, to me, probably, the idea of block producer, when you have somebody like Google that has publicly acknowledged being block producer for EOS, and you have the Security and Exchange Commission giving EOS a waiver, and EOS being very highly touted by other countries such as China and some of these other countries around the world. They're the big players in blockchain, bigger players than the United States. When you have so much, what would you say? When you have so much value placed on EOS by other places, other people, other companies that have reputations and staking so much, then EOS will eventually make the grade, because they are going to come up. They will come up. So if you're wondering about EOS, don't quit. Stop worrying about EOS. EOS is going to make it. And EOS is going to be a huge success. But just as Bitcoin was, when I was sitting here this summer making videos when Bitcoin was $3,000 and $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, and nobody envisioned it to be 34, 35 like it is now, EOS will do the same thing. I'm making an EOS video tonight that's $3. I don't know where it's going to be in a month or a year now, but it will be higher. And so will a lot of other cryptocurrencies will be higher. And the reason I say this is because we are on the EOS blockchain. We are running currently on the EOS blockchain. We know that it works, and we have been very, very successful. I'll put a link to a DApp application where you can actually look at the applications running around the world. We are one of the most used applications running in the world. The Challenge app is one of the most used applications running in the world on any blockchain. And we are running on the EOS blockchain and running very smoothly with very little resources being expended. So EOS is a very very efficient way of running an application. Applications will be run on the blockchain. The blockchain's proving itself right now through Bitcoin, and it will prove itself through smart contracts. If Ethereum scales, then more power to it. But in the meantime, EOS is always going to be faster as long as Ethereum continues to hold on to the proof of work protocol that it's been designed to use, which their developers and their community wants to stay in place. So as long as that's the case, EOS will always be the superior blockchain. And that's the way it is. This is stuff I've talked about for years, and nothing's changed. It's just the mind, the consciousness has to change. You have to be into this new consciousness, this new mindset. And I often feel like when people are really argumentative, or they're not doing well in the world, or they're having a lot of problems, or things aren't going right for them. They just have not gotten into the flow. They just have not gotten into the stream of consciousness that needs to happen for them to be able to let go of whatever it is that's troubled them in the past, and be able to blend into whatever's happening today. And that's what you need to do. Let go of whatever's going on that has happened or you have believed. And I know those are hard things to let go, but because people build their lives around ideas and thoughts and things like that. But sometimes when you let those things go and you just blend into what's happening currently or what's being successful now, you'll be much happier, and you'll start to see things in a new perspective, and you'll be life will be a lot easier, and life will be a lot more enjoyable. So anyway, consider those things. I know probably a long video. I don't generally script my videos. I like to talk about what it is I think, and sometimes I have things come to my mind as I'm talking, which helps the video. And if I scripted it and read it, I think it'd be a lot less boring. It'd be a lot more boring. It'd be less boring too, but a lot more boring in my opinion. And I can always tell when people are script ready, and I don't think that comes from the heart. So anyway, this is what I think. Like I said, my opinion only. I'm just one person out here in the world that's trying to get it like everybody else. But I do see things happening. I do see things changing, and I see people that are prospering, and they're doing very well. So, and I see that things are starting to change. I appreciate you watching. Thank you.